from our studios on Florida's Gulf Coast, this is Women of Grace Live. Join us today as we discuss issues important to your life and faith. Spiritual insight, compelling discussion, practical wisdom. Women of Grace for such a time as this. Now, here's your host, Johnette Bankovic.
Well, not quite Johnette Bankovic. This is Elena Rodriguez coming to you live from the EWTN World Headquarters in Birmingham, Alabama, Irondale, I should say, where Johnette Bankovic is actually taping television episodes, so she can't join us here on the radio studio where I am. I am instead sitting in for her, and she will have a lot to share with us when she comes back from taping the television episodes, special Women of Grace series next week. So we're looking forward to that. And I'll be delighted to be with you the remainder of the hour, along with our very special guest today, Sue Brinkman, our staff researcher and journalist at womenofgrace.com, who always brings us the news reports of the week, keeping us in touch and in tune with our world, not just religious news, but also secular news, so that we know how to hold a firmer stance on our faith, and so that we can protect our family, our kids, our young ones especially, and also our elderly from everything that is going on around there, and we need to know. So we are empowered with information. Sue, welcome, and thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Oh, I'm happy to be here with you today.
It is a great day indeed. It is a day where we celebrate life, and we have to start our show today with an honoring statement in honoring the passing of Norma McCorvey, who our folks might be very familiar with, and she is the Jane Roe in the Roe versus Wade case that legalized abortion in the United States. And our dear Norma McCorvey passed this weekend, and you have the news report.
Yes, I love Norma McCorvey, because if you think about it, think how difficult it was for her to have been the Jane Roe, to have really invested so much of her life at one point into abortion, and then suddenly change her mind and have to turn around and redo everything.
Right.
You can imagine the kind of hate mail that this dear woman got. And even I look at what must have been going on within herself, how difficult it must have been for her throughout her lifetime to reckon with the fact that she was Jane Roe. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's got to be tough. That's got to be really tough. But she was a fighter. Unmarried carnival worker. She was 22 years old when she got pregnant for the third time. Mm-hmm. And the whole case started when she went to a lawyer to say, look, I want to have an abortion. She never did have the abortion. She ended up having the child and then having it and then giving it up for adoption. And she never did reconcile with that daughter again either. But her case, that case that she started, really grew into Roe v. Wade. That was filed in 1970, and it was, I guess, 1982 by the time that was finally all settled and done. And at the time, she told the Dallas Morning News she was bitter that the case hadn't been resolved in time for her to have an abortion, but instead she had to give up her baby daughter through adoption. She was upset about that. But
she ended up having the baby.
Right. She was upset about that. Mm-hmm. She said, but I'm glad to know some other poor woman won't have to go through what I did. And so she was happy about it there for a time. She even wrote an autobiography, I Am Roe, My Life, Roe v. Wade, and Freedom of Choice. And she spoke about the impact it had on her life, how, yes, she is a role model. She says, I wasn't the wrong person to become Jane Roe. I wasn't the right person to become Jane Roe. I was just the person who became Jane Roe, a Roe v. Wade. And my life story, warts and all, was a little piece of history. But it was like a year after that book came out, this was 1995, that the Reverend Flip Benham opened up an office of Operation Rescue right next to the abortion clinic where she was working, and that's what led now to her. The two of them would share the parking lot.
Oh,
and, okay. And the Christians would mention things, and there was a little girl named Emily who used to come up and talk with her and would say to her things like, you should come to church. Why don't you come to church sometimes? And, Jesus wants to forgive you, and all you have to do is ask. She was so innocent, this little girl, in the things that she would say to Norma. And even though Flip, the Reverend, would try to convince her too, to come away from what she was doing. It was Emily that really got to her heart, because Norma said, I only went to school up to the 9th grade. I just wasn't compelled by these apologetic arguments. But she said, I had a very soft heart. And one day, she had been listening to Emily, and one day she saw Emily's mother, drive away, and a sticker on the back, bumper sticker, said, "Abortion stops a beating heart." And she suddenly saw Emily's heart in that beating heart. And she said, "Oh my God, for the first time,
oh my goodness,
I see a human being. A human being's life is being snuffed out." She said, abortion now had a face. It was a little girl named Emily. And that really began her turn. She did then, of course, become baptized.
Yes.
And a few years after that, Father Frank Pavone said she was kind of fooling around a little bit with Catholicism. She was interested in it. He noticed that. He didn't push it on her, but she eventually started coming around, and she was on EWTN. She taped a television interview on there with him, and she felt she was being called into the church, and she entered in 1998. The rest of her life she spent fighting for life. A great lady. Look where she came from. Look at the struggles in her life. She gave birth to 3 children. Only one of them really had any contact with her through her life. Her daughter Melissa, who was with her when she died, and she died in an assisted living facility in Katy, Texas, just this past Saturday of heart ailments. So, just a great story, a great lady, and someone who inspired many, many people to have second thoughts about abortion. Because if she could turn, that this happened to people. If Jane Roe could change her mind, I'll bet a lot of women out there thought, what does she see that I don't see?
Yes.
What am I not getting here? That she would change her mind.
Now, I also understand, because I heard an interview that Teresa Tomeo had in Catholic Connection earlier this week with Janet Morana, and they're the executive director of Priests for Life, and they were actually sharing that Norma McCorvey was fooled into this. She was not aware of what she was signing. She was signing these documents, these papers, and what they did was they just reached out to her and said, "Are you hungry? I'll buy you lunch." And over a pizza lunch, they just said, "Sign here on the dotted line." And when she really came to find out, she was 22 years old, as you said, when she really came to find out what had all happened regarding the case, was when she just walked out on Monday morning and picked up the paper, the Dallas Morning News, outside her door, and started reading about all that had happened regarding the legalization of abortion. She was not aware that she was being used as a poster child.
No, she wasn't, and that was not her intention. She fell into the hands of that pro-abortion feminist attorney, Sarah Weddington, who used that case to overturn Texas laws against abortion, and then, of course, that continued to move on until it got out to the Supreme Court. But, yeah, that's absolutely right. She didn't go there. All she wanted was an abortion. And she wanted to be able to do that and to change the law in the state of Texas. That's really all she wanted. But little did she know, she was being used.
Yes.
She was being used as a pawn.
She was not aware, and now in retrospective, when she's talking about this as in her elder years, she's saying that was the biggest mistake of my life. But I also have to question her, how much is it a mistake if you really were not aware of what was happening, even though the consequences are very, very real. And she was mentioning at this point, when she was reflecting on her life, that her mistake had caused the death of, at that point, 55 million American babies that had been aborted since the legalization of Roe versus Wade that legalized abortion in and across America, and set a parameter, Sue, very sadly, for the rest of the countries. Many of the countries in Latin America took after this and began to legalize abortion in the next few years. And they first began with the concept, Sue, as you very well know, and you've done a lot of research about this, of, it's okay because we're only going to allow abortion in the case of rape. But abortion is abortion, and you're penalizing the little one for a crime he or she did not commit. So we want to talk about this during the show. We want to share with our colleagues, with our dear radio listeners and radio family, about the seriousness of defending life. We also have a lot of pro-life stories that Sue Brinkman is sharing here with us. We're going to be talking in a moment about the House of Representatives overriding the Planned Parenthood regulation regulation. Sue Brinkman, our guest today on Women of Grace, has a report about this and much more. You can call in with your questions, and the number is 1-800-585-9396. That number again is 1-800-585-9396 here on Women of Grace. My good colleague Matt Gubinski is our call screener. He is ready to take your call at 1-800-585-9396. And also through YouTube, you can tune in, youtube.com, and follow our live webcast of this show. You will see only me, Elena Rodriguez, only on this side on our radio studio here. And Sue Brinkman is joining us from afar, so you will not see her. But you can still chime in. And Jeff Burson, our good person, Jeff Burson, is handling the social media chat there on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and search for the EWTN channel. You can be part of the chat and also chime in with questions for our guest, Sue Brinkman, right here on Women of Grace on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network, 11 minutes past the hour, and we will be here in a moment with more news from Sue Brinkman.
EWTN Radio Classics is our 24/7 teaching and devotionals channel, straight from the EWTN archives. Go classic with EWTN Radio Classics, online at EWTNradio.net. Now available on the EWTN app.
February 22nd, Feast of the Chair of St. Peter. In Matthew chapter 16, verse 18, we read, "And upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." Let us reflect. How have I seen the truth of this statement in light of the history of the church? How does this speak to the fact that the Catholic Church is the church Jesus Christ founded?
If you'd like to receive a daily Grace Line by email, go to womenofgrace.com and click on the word Grace Line, and then check the box Receive Grace Lines. That's womenofgrace.com.
This is Janet Benkovic, host of Women of Grace.
Hello, this is Cardinal Donald Wuerl of the Archdiocese of Washington.
This is Gloria Purvis, host of Morning Glory. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
We are glad you are tuning in to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. It's 12 minutes past the hour. Elena Rodriguez here, sitting in for Janet Benkovic this hour on our show that we do with so much love for you, Women of Grace. Our guest today is Sue Brinkman, our staff researcher and journalist at womenofgrace.com, with her breaking news blog, where she posts and updates stories several times a day to keep us informed, and information is power, as you very well know. So we are looking at the story, Sue, that you have posted on womenofgrace.com, that the House of Representatives is overruling the Planned Parenthood regulation. I want to invite, before you go into the details, Sue, I want to invite our callers, our listeners, to call in with your questions. And it is very important. Where do you stand on defunding Planned Parenthood? And what have you seen in your local Planned Parenthood facilities in your town? Maybe you do sidewalk counseling. Maybe you have an experience to share with us regarding the defunding and the urgency to defund Planned Parenthood, because basically taxpayer money is going one way or another to pay for abortions. What is your stand on that? And the number to call in to be here on the show with Sue Brinkman is 1-800-585-9396. I'll give you that number again. It's 1-800-585-9396. And I want to thank you, Sue Brinkman, for updating these stories. And you have the details about the defunding of Planned Parenthood. How is that going through Congress right now?
Well, right now we're slowly making progress on this. One thing that had to be done, though, is this regulation had to be overturned. And it was a regulation that former President Barack Obama put into place just before he left office, which blocked states from defunding Planned Parenthood from federal Title X family planning funds. So he issued this reg to stop them and to say you have to fund them through Title X. You have no choice. Rather than leaving it up to the states. Now, what the House of Representatives did is they filed a joint resolution, and this allowed them to do it because it was within 60 days of when that rule was passed, and it only requires 51 votes in the Senate, so it easily passed. and that was now overturned. Now, it doesn't stop the funding of Title X to Planned Parenthood. It doesn't do anything like that.
Okay.
Really, what it does is it begins to just set up the table now in order to allow this to happen. It says it's only affirming the right of states to fund healthcare providers that best suit their needs without fear of any kind of reprisal from their own federal government. So in other words, it's not allowing states to be told by the federal government, you have to fund Planned Parenthood. Now, Representative Diane Black, who sponsored this, said in her state of Tennessee, they take Title X dollars and they distribute them throughout all of their different county health departments, and they do a wonderful job there in taking care of women's needs. It's not as though they're taking money away from it. I know this is the mantra that they like to say on the pro-abortion side, they're denying women's health. That's ludicrous. It has nothing to do with that. But she said in her states they're actually doing better than states that are just relying on Planned Parenthood, because they're able to spread the money out to where the money is needed most, and they don't have these restrictions on them. So being able to overturn that is just one of the steps that have to be taken now to defund Planned Parenthood. Because remember, we're deeply involved in this funding. It's coming to them through Medicaid, coming to them through Title X. It's going to take a long time. We can't just say, okay, let's turn the tap off, and the tap turns off. It's a lot of steps have to take place here before they can finally get defunded. So each one of these we need to applaud and encourage our lawmakers continue to keep going on this, because they are working on it. And I believe it's going to happen sooner rather than later, because they are doing this.
It is very urgent indeed, and we see how everything was fixing to go, as we say here in the South. You can laugh at that if you will, but
fixing to go.
I'm picking up some Southern expressions here in this land of hospitality that I find myself. Everything was being fixed to go into the direction of even if Planned Parenthood would have been defunded at the national level, so that it would have been the funding would have been protected at the state level, and now we are trying to untie the knots, if you will. That is basically what is happening. And we have a lot of experience from our dear listeners who are in the trenches, so to speak, who have been in front of Planned Parenthood facilities praying peacefully, and who have had encounters with either Planned Parenthood staff, personnel, or even pregnant mothers going in, not knowing exactly that they are abortion facilities, and what is going to happen to their child is that their child is going to get killed. And I want to invite you to call in if you have had that first-hand, first-person account of what is happening in front of Planned Parenthood facilities, to give us a call. The number is 1-800-585-9396. That number again is 1-800-585-9396. You can be here on the show with us, with our guest Sue Brinkman here on Women of Grace, and share your experience. We really would appreciate to know that first-person account. I know that Sue Brinkman, our guest today, has numerous years of experience doing counseling herself and researching stories, and can help set the record straight, can also provide argumentation. For instance, we might encounter somebody who says, I am okay with abortion only in the case of rape because, the woman is the victim. And how do you answer to that? Call in with your questions. Sue Brinkman has a lot of experience in debating, in intellectual debate, in respectful debate, but also in very effective debate and arguments. 1-800-585-9396. And Sue, we have Gladys on the line. She is in Jacksonville, Florida, listening to EWTN Radio through Queen of Peace Radio. What a beautiful name for a radio station, Gladys. Welcome.
Hi, Elena.
Hi.
How are you?
Doing very well, very blessed. So good that you called us.
Thank you. And Sue, I have to say I am currently not working, and so I'm blessed to have the opportunity to listen to you all during the day, but I will say that when I was working, I worked in an office where I was allowed to play Queen of Peace, EWTN on the radio live stream during the day on my computer. So I did get a chance whenever I wasn't focusing on working, to listen to you in the background. So I wanted to share a story. I am a very shy person. and I'm not a public person, and I am on the Respect Life Committee in my parish, and we had signed up one day, I think it was in October, to stand outside one of the local abortion clinics here in Jacksonville. And I got there, and there were two gentlemen, both they're Knights of Columbus, and they had signed up for the same time, so it was just the three of us. And so we got to talking, and it's rush hour, so I'm trying to engage traffic and smile, and I always try and look at the drivers. And so a gentleman was walking by on the sidewalk, and there's a local university hospital nearby, and so I just assumed he worked at the hospital because he had on scrubs. And so, again, try to look him in the eye and give him a smile, and he just shook his head, and he was adamant, and he just shook his head no, like, he was annoyed. And so as he walked by, I continued to smile, and then I just made the sign of the cross and said a prayer for him, and he walked away. And so half an hour later, as I was talking to the two gentlemen that were with me or were there, I see from the corner of my eye this gentleman's coming back with the scrubs. And so I just assumed he was walking back to where he was going or coming from. And so I went to step out of the way as he approached me, and he stopped and said, "Can I ask you a question?" And he was ready to fight me. And I said, "Sure." And so he said, "Why are you even out here? It's not like you're going to make a difference. It's like it doesn't even affect you. Why are you out here?" I said, "Well, it does affect me. I'm part of God's, planet, God's design, and it impacts eternity when we lose children to abortion." And he said, "Well, some of these people, they don't have good lives, and so I'm like, but who am I to judge who can stay or not? I mean, there's so many famous people who were born into families that didn't have a chance and have been able to make a difference." And I said, there's scientists, men of science and big intellect, who have done studies and come to realize that there is a higher power, a God, that created life. And there's a difference between a body and a soul. And he just stopped, and his face changed, and he said, "Well, thank you for answering that question." And he gave me just a little bit of a smile and walked off. And I was like, oh, my God. And the two gentlemen that were with me, they were like, "What did he say?" And I recounted the story, and they said, "Well, it looked like you were holding your own. It looked like he was pretty angry, but you kept up the dialogue." So I'm like, that was God. That wasn't me. That was God.
Wow. You must have felt great after that.
I was just like, it works, God, because I'm a shy person. I'm a very, very shy person. And the idea of being on the sidewalk, out in public, I can put on a public persona and just wave and smile. But when somebody went into my little space, I was, oh my God, I don't want to have a fight. I don't want to have an argument. But he put the words in my mouth, and I was elated. I was elated.
And what's nice is I think right from the very beginning, remember you said how you just smiled at him?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you must have had that kind of an appearance to him of someone who could be approached.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
One of the things that I used to do it once a week, and always on my way would be praying in the car and talking to God, and just getting myself in a place where, I know I'm going to be so many times people walk by, drive by, not walk by, but have driven by and given me the phallic symbol with their hands and, and thumbs down and, shaking the head. And so I know, they must be hurting. And so,
yes.
I just have prayed myself out and asked for God's wisdom to know how to, and our eyes are the entry point to our souls and our hearts. And so I always try and engage them with their eyes first, if nothing else.
And that worked. That obviously worked
It
this
sure
time.
did.
And you don't know how many other people it worked with, too, who might have, had this impression that, these pro-life people are just a bunch of fanatics. And then they remember your sweet, smiling face. And I think, well, not everyone is a fanatic. You know what I mean? You don't know who you've really touched. And I always say that it won't be until I die and go to heaven, hopefully, that I will see all the people who were impacted by my way of fighting for life here on the earth, or any of the other ways in my prayers and whoever has been impacted by those things, because we just don't know. We just don't know. But God gave you the great gift of letting you actually discuss and talk to, and then see the result of your efforts right here in this world. And I think that's something that to be just enormously grateful for. And I'm sure you are, because here you are telling us this story, and it's beautiful. It gives encouragement to everybody to keep trying. Keep trying. Don't give up.
With
Even
facility
if you have
and
100,
kindness, yeah.
Yeah, even if you have 100 people who give you the thumbs down and make rude comments to you, that one person whose heart you changed, and you don't know how many people's hearts changed because of that one man whose heart you changed. You don't know who he's going to go now and discuss this with. So, it's sort of like a domino effect. It's a happy domino effect that we hope that we get started in our own little way.
And thank you very much for your witness today. It's what I take from this, and I learned from this, is that she is praying every day in her car. So she is preparing for this, even though she doesn't know that she will have this encounter. But it is so important to live what you preach. When you live what you preach, it comes across as literally very authentic. Thank you very much there, and blessings to everyone listening through Queen of Peace. And Sue, let's go to Bob. Bob is in Lakeside, California, listening to EWTN radio through the EWTN app, which is a free download. It's a great resource. You put it on your phone, you put it on your mobile device, and you can tune in to live shows, television and radio for EWTN. You can also go back in time and listen to shows you may have missed. It's a great tool. I use it every day. You can call into the show, 1-800-585-9396. You can be here on the show with Sue Brinkman, Women of Grace, like Bob is doing right now. Welcome, Bob. What is your question for Sue Brinkman?
I don't have a question. I just want to relate. You were talking about relating some instances outside of Planned Parenthood.
Yes, sir.
I'm going with a group. We go usually every Friday morning to Planned Parenthood in front of in El Cajon, California. And about 6 months ago, they always, when we come, there seems to be a security guard that shows up for the whole time that we're there, like we're going to be bombing the facility or something. But anyhow, one day the two man and a woman showed up, and young people, and the young persons, the guy started taking pictures of us, literally got in our face within two inches of our face, took pictures from the front of us, back of us, in the middle of a main street, everything. And what he tried to do is try to rattle us. And he did a little bit, but, it was the fact that they do that, which tells me that Planned Parenthood is kind of worried about us. And still to this day, when we're outside of Planned Parenthood, if they see us even with our feet or something touching 1 inch of their property, they tell us to get off. So I think we're having an effect. And the other incident is about every Friday we have a gentleman comes by in a white Ford truck. He flips us off every Friday. I mean, it's just like clockwork. But I think we're making a difference. So I think that's about all I have to say.
Well, you're definitely making a difference, because Planned Parenthood right now is running scared. The last time I was on their website was just a few weeks ago. They have, front and center, we will keep these doors open. They are afraid of what's going on right now. They know they're about to get defunded. They're going to lose about $500 million. That's going to put a big bite into their operating revenue. That is for sure. So we need to keep praying and keep doing exactly what you're doing, Bob, because it's working. It really is working.
We really thank you, Bob, for that very powerful witness as well, from a man's perspective, standing up for women and for the little one. Thank you very much for living out your authentic call to authentic masculine spirituality. We want to have a conversation with you here on Women of Grace. The number to call is 1-800-585 9396 here with our guest Sue Brinkman today on Women of Grace. That number again is 1-800-585-9396. We're talking about the news stories of the week that Sue is reporting and bringing to us, and also about living out our faith. Stay tuned.
EWTN is available on Apple TV. Apple TV is a device that allows you to instantly stream EWTN to your TV. To get EWTN on your Apple TV, all you need is a high-speed internet connection, a TV, and the Apple TV player.
Hello, friends. I'm Janet Benkovic. At Women of Grace, we like to simplify and amplify all of our apostolic efforts to provide cutting-edge, state-of-the-art assistance for your journey of faith. This is why we are offering for just $8.95 per month a Women of Grace membership. In it, you're going to be provided with products including TV episodes, radio programs, CDs, webinars, and so much more, all for your viewing and listening pleasure at your convenience. Visit our website at www.womenofgrace.com.
We're all dying. The Romans and Epicureans throughout history drowned that reality with their wine. Buddhists embrace it with the notion that we have to let go of our sense of self now, which is mere illusion anyway. Atheists try not to think about it too hard. But Christianity is the ultimate defiance. We make peace with death because we can look it in the eye and say, we win. We have a God who rose from the dead and promised us life everlasting. Death's days are numbered. Sure, we still have the pain of death to deal with. We still have to feel the sadness of loss. But all that is anchored in the hope of the resurrection. The faith that death isn't a period, but a comma, and the knowledge that we don't face death alone. We have a God who went before us, and we have loved ones who went before us and who are alive and well, just on the other side of the finish line, cheering us on. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
This is Bishop William Medley of the Diocese of Owensboro.
This is Al Cresta, host of Cresta in the Afternoon.
Hi, I'm Archbishop William Laurie, the Archbishop of Baltimore, and you're listening to EWTN Radio.
Minutes past the hour here on EWTN Radio's Women of Grace. Elena Rodriguez sitting in for Janet Benkovic. She is away here on the EWTN campus on the other side of the building, taping television episodes for Women of Grace on the television side. That's why she's not joining us here today at the radio studio. And we are in the delightful company of our dear sister, radio sister, we call her, Sue Brinkman, who is our staff researcher and journalist at womenofgrace.com, informing us about the news stories of the week. And some are very cheerful, some are very serious as well, but all concerns that we should have, and we should be very well aware of what is going on in our surroundings. We've had the wonderful participation of two of our dear listeners who have called in with their experiences about what goes on in the trenches when they're doing sidewalk counseling at Planned Parenthood facilities, and talking to the people there and sharing their witness, their strong Christian firm stands witness. So we are very blessed with that. You can be our caller too here on the show. You can call in 1-800-585-9396. That number again is 1-800-585-9396. You'll talk to our brave call screener, Matt Gabinski. And another way to join into the show is also if you go to youtube.com, you can watch the webcast of our show. And by going to youtube.com, you type in the search bar EWTN channel. When you get there, you'll see our live webcast, and you can chime in. I'm participating in the chat, as well as our social media manager, Jeff Burson, Mr. Nice Person, as we call him, because indeed he is a very nice person. We have a very nice person waiting in the line, and that would be Kathy in Westchester, Pennsylvania. She is listening to EWTN Radio through Holy Spirit Radio. Kathy, welcome to Women of Grace. What is your question for Sue Brinkman?
Yes. I was wondering if Sue, or I know you have a lot of listeners that are in charge of various pro-life organizations, has heard recently about House Joint Resolution number 43. You can just Google it at HJRES, R-E-S 43, providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 of the rules submitted by the Secretary of Health and Human Services relating to compliance with Title X requirements. And basically, in a nutshell, before President Obama left office on January 20th, when President Trump took his oath of office, they passed what was like another executive order. And if it sits there for 60 days and nobody objects to it, it just goes into effect, which more or less means they can take money away from Planned Parenthood, but then the states are allowed to keep, paying for things that the taxpayers don't want to pay for. So what we've been told to do is contact, like in Pennsylvania, it would be Senator Toomey and Senator Casey, and tell them, obviously Casey's a Democrat and he's not pro-life and he's not going to do it, but Toomey might, to resist this. We want to take away all funding. But if this just sits there for 60 days and nothing gets said about it or people are not aware of it, it just goes into effect. And then from what I'm told, it means you agree with it by saying nothing, and it just goes into effect, and it's going to be very, very difficult to get it undone in the future. So I just wanted to throw that out there that we all have to look this up. Just look up HJRES 43 on Google, and then contact your senators and have them look into it, because, naturally the other side was trying to do all kinds of underhanded things before they left office that would be difficult to undo.
Right. Now, the 60-day thing that you're mentioning here is that's the amount of time that you have to overturn that agency rule. That's the only 60-day requirement that I see in HJ Resolution 43, and that's really the one they acted on to overturn it. You have to do that within 60 days, and that requires 51 votes in the Senate in order to overturn it. But they've already overturned it in the House. So I guess I'm not sure what the other 60 days would be for. I would have to look into that. I would just have to look into it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's another 60 days we need to watch out for or what.
Listen to it and get a hold of it and publicize it more with all their various groups.
Right. Mm-hmm. They need to. I know we've definitely acted the way we needed to in overturning that in the 60-day time, in the 60-day time limit. We have done that. And we have the 51 votes we need to do it in the Senate. Now, whether or not the 60-day rule also applies to what's going on in the Senate, too, I don't know. I'd have to know that. It's not really being mentioned.
I'm afraid with them being gone for a week, and then, when they get back, if they put it on the back burner, it'll be March 20th, and next thing you know, it's etched in stone.
Yeah, or they're going to have to take another process to go through another process that would probably be more lengthy to overturn it. They can still overturn it.
I didn't hear about it myself until yesterday at a small little local meeting, so I thought if I didn't hear about it and I try to stay abreast of things, then I bet there's a lot of other people that are not aware of it, and it could be the senators. I'm sure they're inundated with all kinds of requests from different groups.
Yes, especially right now because we got so much going on.
So and we have to listeners' attention.
We got to encourage the Senate absolutely to act on it, and then make sure that President Trump puts his signature on it. That's what has to happen. So very good.
Life, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Kathy.
Kathy.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you for making us aware. And as you said, I just Googled, and sorry for using a verb that should actually be a noun. I searched on the Google engine. I'm trying to be, grammatically correct here. I searched just with searching Resolution 43 on Google or any of your search engines of your choice. It takes you right to the Congress website. You can see it there right at the top. So it is good research. We want to thank Kathy for that. And Sue, we go to Richard, who is in Columbus, Ohio, beautiful town there. St. Gabriel Radio is how he is listening to EWTN Radio. Gabriel, Richard, what is your question from St. Gabriel Radio? Go right ahead.
Not a question, just a comment.
Uh-huh.
And frequently listen to your show. But there are a lot of health services that I'm Catholic. I am not pro-choice. I listen to your show frequently. But Planned Parenthood provides a lot of health services to poor women that they would not normally get. So basically, if this pie could be sliced so that basically women still receive health services, but the government is not involved in abortions, that would seem like a more fair, equitable solution.
Well, Richard, what the lawmakers are saying is that there is a enormous, sprawling network of community health clinics that outnumber Planned Parenthood like 10 to 1. So whatever services Planned Parenthood can provide cheaply, these health clinics can provide cheaply too. So that's why they're trying to redirect the money away from Planned Parenthood. They're not just going to stop giving the money, but what they want to do is they want to give that money, redirect it into the community health centers so they can get it away from anything that has anything to do with abortion. Because regardless of how great the cancer screenings might be at Planned Parenthood, that money is still keeping Planned Parenthood afloat and is still allowing them to continue in their main mission, which is abortion. That's from their own admission. That's really where they make their money, is abortion. Not in these other cancer screenings. They do not. They give almost no prenatal care, if any. Some clinics even turn women away who are pregnant, who says, no, wait, we can't take care of you. So they're very limited in the services that they give women. But you're correct in saying that they are low cost, and they do make them available to women of lower income levels. But they're not the only game in town, I guess is what I'm saying. There's plenty of other clinics around that will take over now once Planned Parenthood goes. So I think what they've kind of figured out is that, Planned Parenthood, they're always saying how, they're indispensable. Well, we found out they are dispensable. And we have plenty of other clinics that can provide more comprehensive care to women, and they can be just as cheap, if not cheaper. So I think that we're headed down on that path. We're definitely headed in that path, and lower income women they're at the top of the list as far as people wanting to take care of them. No one wants to leave them without the health care that they need. And we're talking now about cancer screening. When cancer screening is something that you can get at these health care centers, and a lot more, because they can also bring their children there, their husbands can go there, because it's more comprehensive health care. It's not just women's. It's now all kinds of health that can be dealt with at these community health centers. So we got to hope that this process continues.
I want to thank you, Richard, for calling in with a very interesting question. How far can we go, like you said, slicing it in the middle of the pie, and can we really keep them separated? So thank you, Sue Brinkman, our guest today, for clarifying that. And it is very important to understand how things work. Sue, I want to ask you a question right off. It's going to knock your socks off. Do you like classical music?
Yes, I do.
You do. That's good. I like it sometimes as well. I mean, certain times of the day, especially, believe it or not, starting the day when I wake up real early with classical music, I love it. And I'm asking you because that is going to be the topic next hour with Take Two with Debbie and Jerry, coming up at the top of the hour at 12 Eastern Time. Take Two with Debbie and Jerry. They'll be talking about classical music. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Can you not stand it? Call in with your questions, and the number is going to be the same as the number you used to call the show here right now, and that number is 1-800-585-9396. You can talk to Sue Brinkman here, sharing about the news stories of the week. She is our researcher and journalist at womenofgrace.com, and she also has two beautiful cats who are
which is crying
often
right now.
part of the show. We are very Franciscan here. We have Johnette with her little puppy, Maggie May, and then we have Sue Brinkman with Mojo and Snarky there, the fearless cats in the background. And you can join in with your pets as well. They can call in 1-800-585-9396. Not having fingers is not a problem here on this show. And Sue, we do have a very active YouTube community. We have Thomas on YouTube joining us. Hi, Thomas. How are you and everybody in the YouTube community? I'm waving at the camera right now and giving you a warm embrace. And Thomas in Swanton, Ohio is asking, when will Planned Parenthood release their financial information from last year? If we could only get an answer to that.
We get that information is released. There's a lag time in there. We don't get it right away. We don't really actually get that kind of information until probably halfway through the year of 2017. But I'll tell you the place to watch. It would be the American Life League, ALL, because they get their hands on that report right away. They're always the first people to report on it, and they give a huge, very detailed breakdown of everything that's in there, everything that's said. If you're not a financial analyst, a lot of the stuff is difficult to understand. They work that all out for you, and that's the site that I usually go to when I'm looking for those numbers. Right now, I'm only seeing the 14-15 numbers. that are out right now. So we're still waiting for 15, 16 to come out. And like I said, it's going to be at least halfway through the year. There's a lag in that as to when they come out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but they will come out, and is that usually published in... Do all the media fairly report on this is the question that I want to ask.
Of course not.
Okay.
Of course not. They'll only pick out certain parts of the report. They do very limited reporting on it because they don't want anyone to go in and look at the report and find out how many abortions they actually did. So it's limited, but they do report on it.
I see. Okay.
You're going to find it more in the pro-life websites and pro-life areas. That's who's going to get the information.
All right, very good. We hear Mojo there in the background. Your cat. He is disgusted with the news. I can hear
letting
that.
him out of the room is what we're doing.
And Sue, thank you very much again for all your good reports here on Women of Grace that you always prepare for us. We have Joan on the line, but there's some kind of bad connection. But I'll ask Joan's question because she poses a very important question. Kermit Gosnell. Did he do some good for women, or was it that all he did was abortions? Where's the line on that? Did he do some good?
I don't know anything about that. I absolutely don't know anything. I'm sorry that I can't be more helpful. That he delivered Will Smith. I simply don't know that. He obviously did deliver some babies that were alive. We know that from the testimony in the court and some of them, of course, were killed after they were delivered. And he was an OBGYN, so he could have at some point in his career been helping women. That's very possible, but I don't know much about that.
All right. Well, it's a very interesting question. We have Scott on the line, and he is listening in San Antonio, Texas, through the mighty Guadalupe Radio Network, and that is how he is joining our live EWTN radio broadcast. Scott, your question for Sue Brinkman. Go right ahead, sir.
I didn't have a question. I had a real brief snapshot of what happens in the pro-life trenches out in front of Planned Parenthood clinics.
Sure. Yes.
1, you usually get the obscene gestures. 2, I've been told, go get a real job. 3, we've had full Coke cans thrown at us. And the third one, the strangest one, is one guy pulled up into the parking lot, gets out, comes to the where I was standing, and says, and I kept on saying, God bless you, God bless you. And he was keep on saying, why are you cursing me? Why are you cursing me? And I would say, God bless you. So that was the strangest event that I've ever experienced out in front of Planned Parenthood. But that was strange, but the other ones are pretty normal.
Wow, that's pretty tough. Hey, somebody could have got hurt.
Oh, yeah.
A full can of soda being thrown at somebody's head could have put somewhat of a nick in a person's skull if it was thrown hard enough.
Even lose an eye.
I know that it's funny how there's always so much. There just seems to be so much more violence these days in these protests. They're getting more and more violent, I think, and I pray for the safety, really, of both sides, and that we can kind of tone down the rhetoric a little bit and not be endangering other people with physical harm. Let's just get out there and say what you need to say and make your stand. But all the violence and histrionics don't really belong there. But thank you for sharing that and letting. I mean, we know that they are mistreated. Pro-lifers are mistreated, but they just still stand out there, and they've been doing it for 40 years, which I think is so wonderful.
Thank you so much, Scott, for your firm stance and for your valiant witness. God bless you and empower you even more, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. God bless you there in San Antonio, Texas. And we have Pamela and Sean on hold. But before we go to them, and I ask you to please hold for a second, Pamela there. Sue, I want to bring up a very nice story of hope and encouragement that you have on your breaking news blog, womenofgrace.com, about a young lady that took a firm stance, a teenager who takes a firm stance against a magazine that is suggesting to give gifts to post-abortive women, teen women, young women, and she's taking a firm stance saying, you can't speak for me. This is a very encouraging story.
Oh, she's such a brave girl. 16 years old. She's her name is Autumn.
God bless
and
her.
She just delivered this powerful rebuttal to the editors of Teen Vogue, who thought they were publishing this cool article about what to give a teen after she has an abortion. They're suggesting things like chocolates and books of poetry and angry uterus heating pads. And goofy things like that. And Autumn just says, you know what? This article is trying to make teens think that abortion's no big deal, that you don't have to be afraid or terrified of it. And she says, you know what? Abortion is scary. She said, no one skips into that room as if they're getting their hair highlighted or their nails painted.
Yes.
And she said, you know, the thought of going into that room to have my baby removed from my body is both terrifying and scary, and none of these gifts will make me feel better. And if they did, that would mean I need serious counseling. Excuse me. So, excuse me.
No problem. We'll give you a moment there to take a glass of water. This is live radio, and and the flu is going around, and it is wintertime, but hopefully with springtime and allergies, we'll get through this season, right? All right, very good. Sue, are you there?
I think I'm back.
You're back? Are you alive?
I think I'm back. No, I've had a bad cold.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. No,
got really rough. But anyway.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming back.
Absolutely go to the site and look at that video because it's astonishing.
Yeah, and it is very important. I'll give you a moment to recover your voice. It is very important to share these stories with our teens and to be able to provide good examples of what other teens their age are doing. And there's the myth that all teenagers think alike, and that's not actually accurate. So very important. This story, if you want to follow up on it and show it to your teens, is available on womenofgrace.com. Scroll down at the left-hand side of the page. You'll see the breaking news blog by Sue Brinkman, a wonderful resource. The Women of Grace page is full of wonderful resources. We want to bring on Pamela, who is in the state of New York listening through Sirius XM 130. Pamela, your question for Sue Brinkman, please. Go right ahead.
Well, I didn't have so much a question. I'm one of the people who volunteer to pray outside of Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
And in fact, I'm here right now. And I just did want to say, yes, occasionally to follow up the gentleman call from the other state, I forget where it was, who had so many negative responses, and we do get those too. But we do have a lot of positives here that really encourage us. We have a lot of people in this poor neighborhood where they're located who come by to say, God bless you for being here. And we've had people come and show us pictures of their babies beaming because they didn't go through with their abortions when they saw people praying outside. And we've had, many people give us words of encouragement, which helps to go on. And we've had some people come in for abortions, and we've given them the literature, and they turn around in the parking lot and leave. So we assume they've changed their mind. So those things are what keep us going. And I just want to emphasize how important that witness is for people who can do it, to stand out and just pray silently. And it's an enormously important thing to do.
It certainly is, Pamela. Thank you very much for that witness. Sue, you have some words? Are you back with us? All right.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can now. We're glad.
Good. No, I'm back. I'm feeling better. I just want to say, Pam, I had the same experience when I go and I protest in front of one of the local Planned Parenthoods here. I get really more people driving by giving me the thumbs up than giving me the thumbs down.
Yeah.
And I'm in suburban Philadelphia, so it's not exactly out in the country where there's not a lot of people. It's a pretty crowded area. And most of the people that drive by are giving us a thumbs up, and they seem to be happy to see us there. So I think you're right. That witness is important. People can see it driving by from a very main thoroughfare. They can see everybody out there, and it just keeps this whole abortion issue in the forefront of their minds. Let's not forget about it. People are upset that babies are being murdered in the womb.
Yeah.
And we need to keep that in front of people's consciences all the time.
Yeah, it is truly very important. Pamela, I want to thank you and give you a warm embrace. Thank you for calling in with that. God bless you, and keep up the good work and the faithful life work. And as we close the show, Sue, just for a moment, I want to say hi to Sean. Sorry we can't bring you on the air, but Sean I'm asking for prayers for Sean. He is heading to Planned Parenthood right now and saying, we are going to make a difference. Here is a valiant man standing up for life, so I ask your prayers prayers for him and everyone at that Planned Parenthood facility and everyone standing up for life. Sue Brinkman, a pleasure having you here on the show on Women of Grace. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And we hope you recover from that cold very soon.
Okay, I'm sure I will.
Stay tuned, because right up ahead is Take Two with Debbie and Jerry talking about, as you heard, do you like classic music?